Okay, I'm back. I wanted to tell you, I got my iron out, my ironing board, and I have my paper towels because I wanted to show you that I will just let these dry, and then I will use them in my next dyeing batch. They don't mold. This is not mold. This is what it picked up from the cinnamon that was left on the papers. You'll notice that my paper toweling is very textured. I'll show you why I use that. Is because if you don't get anything on your papers, it will pick up. Let's see. I don't know if you can see that there. It will pick up the patterning of the paper toweling, and then it will make a very nice pattern in it. So you can see that that's partially dry. After I iron these, I will put a couple of huge dictionaries on them, and then they will turn out pretty good. You can see that they look a little oranger than coffee dyed paper. Let me grab a piece here. This is paper from Triple Vintage, or Triple V Vintage. You can see it's close, but this coffee dye is beautifully darker. And then some turns out more like this. So it does give you a little different color, but it's still beautiful, and it's definitely usable in a journal. Now, this is what I was talking about, was some of the paper tore seriously bad. And so I will still use this. I'll be able to make little booklets out of it, or smaller pages, half pages in a journal. So it's still very, very usable. Let me put my paper toweling off to the side. So I didn't get a lot of patterning from the stencil. I think it's because I pushed down too hard on it when I was kind of squishing my juice around in there. But you can see it has some coloring on it and stuff that is different. I've got my iron too high. Let me turn it down. You really don't want it very high. If you have papers stuck together from the wet, iron them right together. Now you can tell this was a top paper, because now you see some of the patterning. As it dried, these little holes and stuff in the lace just kind of start poking their little heads out. So, but yeah, I do recommend using textured paper toweling. It really, really helps. Got some nice patterning there. I gotta get my lights set up differently. That one's not quite dry. I'm going to, like I said, I'll squish these down with a couple of big dictionaries, and tomorrow they'll be ready to go. So some of the things that I was saying that you couldn't hardly hear on my very terrible video, sorry about that. I do hope you like my new glasses. I hope you watched it long enough to see my new glasses and meet me in person. But some of the things I was saying was when I can coffee dye, in the summertime outside, which is usually about the end of June, maybe, if we're not in the rainy season here. I will lay out my, I have one of those plastic top fold up and down tables, and it's what, I don't know, three widths of paper wide and 6 feet long. So I will go in and make all my coffee dye, which I'll show you, not in this video. As it gets closer to summer, we'll be getting ready to do that. Oh, that one's not dry. I'm not drying it completely if I can avoid it, but just enough that once it gets in the pile, it won't be a problem for the other papers. Oh, no, I'll stay. I better make videos. I love you too. Bye.
Bye.
Ooh, there's a nice iron mark. What if we can get another one? Oh, what if we can make mountains on it? We'll heat them away. My husband came in. Sorry, I lost track of what I was saying. He asked if I wanted to go to Albany today. I was like, no, I better make videos. So anyway, I will make a heavy-duty batch of instant coffee, and I will fill my dye tub, which is the one I was using yesterday. I will fill it with, not fill, but I'll put, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches of dye bath in it. And then I will, hi Libby, hang on, 4 or 5 inches of dye bath. Oh, okay. And then I will fill an extra jug, and I think it's a half gallon, it could be a gallon jug, with some more dye bath. And then I will fill 3 squirt bottles with more dye. So you can see that I would be doing an enormous amount of dyeing. This is a thicker piece of paper. And then I have some lace cloths, but mostly I just use the plastic tablecloths. I buy them from Amazon, and I buy them I look at them and I buy the ones that have the most holes in them and is not waterproof on your table. If it's waterproof on your table, then those little holes are actually kind of meshy holes. There's plastic in between what would be the threads on a normal dye. So I buy the tablecloths that are not waterproof. And I will cut them just a little wider than my 8.5, so somewhere right around 8 3/4 to 9 inches wide. Only reason I would go wider is if I had wider paper, or maybe I was going to turn my papers this way on the table, but I don't. I always turn them this way. And then I cut a length. I cut it straight down that 8 3/4 to 9 inches. And it's not exact measurement. And then I will cut it at approximately, look at this one, it got some great color, at approximately 6.5 feet long. That leaves a little tiny bit of extra to hang over the ends of each table or right to the edge of the curve of the table. And then I will lay out all my papers for my first go around. And I lay them paper to paper and fill up the table. And then I lay the tablecloths over it, if I'm using the tablecloths. And I'll lay them right down the rows. Let them dry in the sun. Now, if I want more of a pattern in them, then I will come back through with my squirt bottle and I'll squirt them little bits into the holes of the lace. And depending on what kind of, how dark I want my dye bath, my papers to be, I might come back and squirt them another time or up to 2 or 3 times. Sorry about all them. When you get a couple of squirts on there, the dye bath gets pretty dark, so you do want to not overdo it, because once they get too dark, the coffee makes the paper super crunchy. And then the only thing you're going to use that paper for is to be able to glue it to the back of something or for a super grungy journal. Now, the thing that I love to do most is use my stencils. And I have mostly 12 by 12 stencils. I have some smaller ones, but it's mostly 12 by 12. And I will put those just like I do the tablecloth, only they'll overlap some of my papers. And I will do the same thing. I'll lay the papers all down and cover them with stencils. And I'll go through, depending on how hot the day is too, I'll go through and squirt all of my papers. Now, when I say I lay my papers down on the table, I've already dipped them one by one through the dye bath. So I don't want to leave that step out. But yeah. And I'll treat the stencils the same way I do the tablecloth. Except for I won't cut my stencils down. And, well, I guess that's about it. So here's our papers. Now, I don't know. I wish you could see that patterning on there from the paper towel, because it's very cool, actually. There it is. Got some cinnamon on here. But yeah, got some white showing through. But the patterned paper towels really work the best, because you get, if you don't get dyeing from your stencils or your tablecloth, you will get it from your paper towel if you layer it between every piece of paper. And like I said, I don't waste my paper towels. I will reuse them all summer long with dozens of dye baths. And they dry out between times. If I get a nice warm day, I'll take them outside and I'll just stack them out on my little table, and I'll put something over the top of them, and they just dry out very nicely. So let me see if I have I don't have too many. This is one of the dies I did with, oh, sorry. And of course that is seahorses. So that means I have a stencil that has a seahorse on it. This is a really thick paper I dyed with a tablecloth, and this was a tablecloth, a real fabric one. When you use the real fabric ones, you don't get as deep of a pattern. At least I don't. Now this is another thick piece of paper. You can see that I put a doily on it. Maybe. Can you see that doily? Anyway, that is a doily, and it was a real doily, a real fiber doily. And what happened here was it pressed into the paper, or the paper, because it's so thick, it kind of folded around the edges of the doily, and it cracked the paper in those areas. And same way with this one, and of course that one ripped. And that one just didn't take a good dye. And I think that's about it for my papers, because they're about all used up. There's a piece. I was hoping I could show you. Oh, okay, so here's one that I oversprayed. And you can see that in the heat of the summer, it almost burnt it. And the coffee dye was so... I used a lot of instant coffee crystals, and it just really, it dyed it nicely. Like, this would make a great background card or journaling card. And it's the same way with this one, but I oversprayed these too. Now these are plastic tablecloths, placemats. Tablecloth placemat. So these are some that I squirted 2 or 3 times, and it just overcooked them in the sun by doing that. So it's just something you kind of have to practice and, you know, go with the flow on it. So I have quite a few papers that... These are all thick cardstocky. Oh, here's one I did. A piece. There's a piece of another one. That's just a card I dyed. And that was a rose dye. And it turned gray. But it's still very pretty. I was hoping I could show you some of my raspberry tea, but I'm not finding that one. Let's see. Anyway, this summer we will be doing rose dyeing, and we will do some raspberry tea. With the raspberry tea, you get some beautiful blues in it. It's a little pinks and purples and some beautiful blues. At least with my raspberry tea, that's what I got. A lot of times I'll break and open the tea bags, and I'll spread that all over, and I'll give it a squirt, and it kind of brings out some more color from the tea. So anyway, I appreciate you joining me, and I hope you watched my horrible, no good, very bad video on dyeing. It's the first time I've held a tablet or used my tablet to record. And so now I know that I need to definitely learn how to hold it better. I kept putting my hand over the mic area, and so that was a problem, wasn't it? So that made some bad noises. So anyway, I do apologize, but I hope that you will watch the video anyway, suffer through, and say hello to me, because I actually film myself and talk to the camera for a while. And I introduce you to my dog, and I show you my new glasses, and anyway, that's about it for today. So thank you for joining me, and I hope that you have a great day, and we'll have a better dyeing section next time, because we'll take this camera here that I have that's recording right now. I'll take it out and put it on a tripod, and we'll use it. So we'll get some pretty good, you'll get a pretty good idea of how you do all the dyeing. So I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.